alien fighters from Beverly Hills. I should just end this review right now because that title alone is enough to tell you this thing is gonna suck. It really is the little details that make a big difference. If this show was just called Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters, that might have sounded cool. But they had to throw Beverly Hills into the title, which gets me thinking of either Shelley Long in a Girl Scout uniform or Shannon Doherty and Luke Perry trying to act like high schoolers. Okay, this was another attempt to cash in on the popularity of the Power Rangers, and oh boy did I get requests for it after I reviewed Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, claiming this show was even worse. You have no idea how much that frightens me. It's also a case of be careful what you wish for to anyone who wanted a full American version of this genre. Oh yes, this is not an adaptation of any Japanese tokusatsu show. This is a completely original production from DiC that first aired on USA in 1994. So it's the studio that released Cyber Squad and the network that at the time was best known for Rhonda Shear's Up All Night. Oh yeah, this is gonna be high class! The pilot opens up with a Darth Vader fanboy named Garganus on... Oh, come on! Sid and Marty Krofft would make fun of this set for being so cheap. And what is that supposed to be, a retarded Tenga?
It won't be pretty for long.
Are you going to disintegrate it like you did to Akbellin of the Everlear Galaxy?
The fact that I just saw the new Muppets movie makes this even more painful to watch. Garganus wants to conquer Earth because it's the epicenter of a bunch of dimensional gateways or something that we were apparently too ignorant to discover. Geez, no wonder we're shutting down NASA. He sends down V for Vendetta if he was in feudal Japan? As the monster wreaks havoc with the best effects Windows Movie Maker can produce, we cut to this segue that will be used about 100 times in the series. And we get our main characters, Swinton, a science whiz who doesn't like working with others, Gordon, who Zach Morris would say is too preppy, Drew, a whiny space case, and Lori, an intelligent cheerleader? If that's a knock on Kimberly, she was not an airhead! At least when she wasn't around Tommy.
So why don't you tell me what it does so I can explain it? So now what does this do right here?
Don't touch anything!
Swinton's device opens a portal to a spaceship where clearly they are in danger of breathing in too much dry ice or knocking over one of the styrofoam props. They meet an alien being named Nimbar, who is obviously this show's Zordon, but given his voice tone and the fact that we never see his face, I can't help but think of Charlie Townsend. Ironic, considering the two female characters look like they're old enough to be angels. Seriously, is there something in the water that makes all Beverly Hills teens look like they're 27? Nimbar says he summoned them to stop Garganus' forces and brands them with his mucus so they can become his galactic sentinels.
I chose those that could work well together.
We're not even friends.
Can't you get somebody else?
No. Each of you were chosen for your specific personality.
Assembling a group of kids who never liked each other and just throwing them into the fire expecting them to succeed? No, I'm gonna say that's really stupid!
Scorpion! Taurus! Centaur! Apollo!
Nimbar's transo discs turn them into Hannibal Lecter clones on steroids?
We've been transformed. Sentinels ready. Got muscles and power. Tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills.
Okay, I just want to know, whose garage did they film this fight scene in?
When we
Really, give me a photoshopped backdrop, 20 buildings made of foam board, and 3 exotic dancers, and I could make a sexy Godzilla parody with the same production quality as this. And good God, this music! I can only imagine Ron Wasserman laughing his ass off while listening to it. Now, as insane as this will sound, the pilot ends on a few things that kinda make sense. The 4 agree to pretend to still not like each other in order to keep their secret. I still say Nimbar choosing them despite not liking each other was stupid, but at least they're smart enough to make it look like nothing's changed.
All we've got to do is form Nitron and kick butt.
You must use Nitron sparingly. The power of Nitron is finite. You must use it only as a last resort.
Huh. That's actually a good explanation for why they can't just curb stomp every monster. I'm truly impressed. Unfortunately, those were just the beginning of revealing what this show is really about.
If you really think about it, we were forced to become Galactic Sentinels. This whole thing is becoming an intrusion in my life. Well, at least my philosophy is my own. Yours has been handed down from one elitist generation to the next.
You have to have tradition.
I have a problem with being a pawn of social conformity and rules.
Gee, it's starting to look more like selecting 4 teenagers that mostly care about their own concerns was a really bad idea. Maybe that's why Zordon recruited a pack of goody 2-shoes. By now it looks pretty obvious. This was created by people who hated the Power Rangers, or at least liked to gripe about all of its plot holes and nonsensical elements. So they tried to create a show that filled in all of those holes. In fact, with the cheap production, it almost comes off as a PSA about how stupid the first show is and how it should have been done. In other words, they tried to add realism to a show about teenagers fighting alien monsters. Heck, some of the things they do are less realistic. Zordon's plan to select kids that know and like each other makes more sense because they would be more likely to work well together right from the get-go. It's not like baseball where you can give them a 6-week training camp. A. Lee Martinez, author of sci-fi works like Gil's All-Fried Diner and Too Many Curses, really, if you don't know this guy, check out his work, recently stated that story and entertainment should not take a backseat to realism. Ultimately, that's the problem here. This show tries too hard to show how teenagers would really react to being thrown into a war with aliens, and they don't realize that the camp and nonsense is part of what makes shows like Power Rangers endearing. I can't suggest this is a true parody because it does look like they were trying to take it seriously, and parodies usually work as one-shots. Creating a full series that's meant to insult Power Rangers in an elitist way like this will just turn off the tokusatsu fan base, and the people who hate that genre wouldn't think to give this show a try anyway. But they managed to drag this on for 40 episodes, which I'm guessing were produced in 40 days. They were so cheap that they also used the same monsters over and over. 10 monsters for 40 episodes. Cyber Squad at least had the excuse of needing to reuse footage because they made more episodes than the show they adapted from. But since this isn't an adaptation, it makes the producers look lazy and the villains stupid for reusing monsters that fail. The last episode was the ultimate hypocrisy. Garganus successfully devises a plan to learn the Sentinels' identities, and just like a Power Rangers villain, he doesn't go after them in their human forms, but in their Sentinel forms, and they beat him in some manner that erases his memory. Oh, and there was also a Wonderful Life parody in there. Ironic that I'm reviewing this during the holiday season.
We did it.
Did you see us, Nimbar?
We came, we saw, we kicked butt.
Goodbye, Gorganus.
This show is so god-awful that part of me actually admires the producers for pulling it off. I mean, think about it. In a time before we could all make our cheap-ass shows and throw them online, these guys actually convinced the USA Network to give them a time slot. Mad props for that! But that doesn't change the fact that it's bad, bad, bad. The production looks like a PBS show from the 70s, the characters are as stiff as oak wood, episodes drag like a soap opera, and the whole theme seems more about insulting the other shows of its genre than trying to be entertaining in its own right. If this is what a realistic tokusatsu show is like, give me the unrealistic Power Rangers every time. Now I may just go and submit my idea for a Ninja Cat show, because if this can get on TV, anything's possible. See you next time on TV Trash.